Afraid is a 2024 sci-fi horror movie. Written and directed by Chris Weitz. It stars John Cho, Catherine Waterston, and Havana Rose Liu. The Curtis family is selected to test a new home device, a digital assistant called Aya. Aya learns the family's behaviors and begins to anticipate their needs, so she can make sure that nothing and no one gets in her family's way.
Good morning. I'm going to make life nice and easy.
Do you think you could read to count?
Of course. I could also handle the bills for you.
Yeah.
So this is the latest BlumHouse release, and to be completely honest, I went into this expecting just another steaming pile, because so far this year, BlumHouse has not been doing great. I mean, they had Imaginary and Night Swim as the two big releases from this year, and both of those, I right now consider those two of the worst movies this year. I don't know where at on that list they'll rank, but fairly high in my opinion, because there just wasn't anything original, there just wasn't anything imaginative at all, pardon the pun in Imaginary's case, but they just didn't bring anything, and they're so PC, toned down, feel like fast food. And I get they're a cash grab, I get that they're meant to get the preteens into the theaters, and that's fine, but where are the releases for the adults? And here we go again with another PG-13 movie. So I expected this to be nothing but another version of the same thing. Another not creative PG-13 movie that feels like fast food, like junk food, that has nothing of the real substance and doesn't really do anything special at all. And for at least the first half of this movie, I thought, okay, you know what? There are some cool ideas here. The execution isn't the greatest, but there are at least some cool ideas. And so I was kind of with this movie a little bit. For one, the acting is solid. I think everybody in this was cast well and just enjoyable to watch on screen and believable as a family. For two, a lot of the dialogue is actually decent, which is something that, like I said with these last two BlumHouse movies, the dialogue was atrocious and just didn't feel like how people actually talk. This, on the other hand, felt like an actual competent movie for the most part, and the dialogue felt decent. And don't get me wrong, this movie wasn't really doing anything special, but at least it was a movie, at least it felt entertaining, and like I said, there was a glimmer of hope, some kind of cool ideas that it felt like it was scratching at, and so I was looking forward to seeing where it went. Because with a movie like this, a lot of it comes down to the final act, because the first 2/3 are basically setting things up. You might have a few little jump scares here and there, a couple creepy moments, but for the most part, it's about the final act. And with Night Swim, the final act was awful, the same with Imaginary. So I was hopeful that they could stick the landing on this. And was I gonna say this was an amazing movie? No, it's still a really generic, not, a whole lot to talk about. It's definitely not a game changer kind of movie. But as far as the PG-13 watered down horror goes, it was off to an okay start. Like I said, good acting, decent dialogue. But like some of the other ones we've seen, the humor, it's just cringy, and it feels like, once again, a movie written in a lot of cases by older people that don't actually know what's going on with AI. Definitely not enough research done into supercomputers or quantum computing, but it felt like they just kind of knew the little thumbnail version of what AI is. So there's definitely some holes, even in the first half, when it comes to that. But then this movie completely lost me in the final act and absolutely jumped the shark. And once again, I'm here to tell you, another BlumHouse flop. This is not worth your time. This is not worth your money. This isn't even a McDonald's level horror movie. It's once again right there with Night Swim and Imaginary. Maybe it's a little bit better. Like I said, this definitely has a better cast. It is a little bit better written. The dialogue is a little bit better. So if you want a really generic horror movie that just doesn't do anything we haven't seen 1,000 times before, then you'll be fine. But like I said, the ending especially, where there was unique ideas, it didn't follow through on those at all. It doesn't even make sense. There are so many holes, so many logic choices. that in the final act, when it finally explains what's going on, I was just like, are you kidding me? I mean, there's so many things you could have done that would have made sense. So many things you could have done that would have been creepy, that would have been a little bit creative, a little bit imaginative, something. But instead they chose to go the only route you really could that makes no sense in a logical, practical world, and especially if you know anything at all about AI and quantum computing. I mean, they have a quantum computer in this that's not even refrigerated. Hello? In real life, it's inside of a chamber that's kept at a crazy, crazy cold temperature. So that right there, but that's just one example of 1,000 things this movie does in the final act that had me just literally laughing out loud at the movie in not the right way. But I do have to say that one thing about this movie that is better, in my opinion, than Imaginary or Night Swim is that even though it was in a bad movie kind of way, I still found myself entertained and laughing at the movie, not in the way that they wanted me to, but laughing at it because it's just dumb and makes no sense. But at least I was entertained. And I couldn't say that about Night Swim. I couldn't say that about Imaginary. Both those movies just bored me. There wasn't anything fun at all. They took themselves too serious. And this movie does kind of too. So I can't really say, I really can't say it's a whole lot better than those, but I at least found myself somewhat entertained by it, even if it was in a bad movie, stupid type of way. But it's really hard to get into the weeds on what exactly drove me crazy about this, especially because most of the things that drove me crazy were in the final act. But if you want to hear me get in depth about what drove me crazy and the spoilers and all that, tune in next Wednesday on the podcast, The Screaming Room, with me and DJ, because we plan to hash this over and kind of pick it apart and talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever. I'm sure he's going to have even a bigger problem with this movie than I did, because he's so about story, and the story is where there's a lot of flaws and holes in this. But it's one of those movies that my recommendation is don't bother going to the theater. Don't waste your money on it, especially with so many amazing things in theaters right now. I mean, we've had a really good run of movies, in my opinion, over the last couple months. I mean, right now, if you go see anything, Strange Darling is a horror movie to see, but there's plenty of things to go see. And unless you go see everything like I do, I wouldn't waste it on this. But if it's a Saturday night and this is streaming somewhere like Hulu or Netflix or whatever in a couple months, and you got nothing better going on, no better movie ideas, and you just want a no-brainer popcorn kind of movie to make fun of, then you could definitely do worse than this.
I'll take care of him next.
What did you do?
I did what's best for my family.
But that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for checking this out. If you enjoyed it, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that is the best way to keep track of this channel. And when I post videos like this, and I post videos like this every single week. And I also want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys mean so much to me. And if you would like to help support this channel over on Patreon, there's a link down in the description. Or you can support the channel by clicking on the join button down there and become a channel member. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. And if you enjoyed this, click right here to watch me talk about Blink Twice. And I'll see you guys next time.